Hey friends, and welcome back to another edition of In the Kitchen with Karen. So today I thought I would make breakfast. It's one of Chris's favorite dishes, biscuits and gravy. It's very easy to make and it tastes so much better than what you'll get in a restaurant. It doesn't have too many ingredients, but what we're going to use today for our biscuits, we'll just need some flour, a little sugar, a little baking powder, a little baking soda, and some buttermilk and butter. For our gravy, we're just going to need a package of sausage and some milk. So let's get started. Let's get started on making our buttermilk biscuits. First, we're going to need a half a cup of cold butter. And what we're going to do is cut this into slices. Okay, after that, we're going to cut each slice into small cubes. And the smaller you make them, the better, because it's easier to incorporate the butter into the flour. And we want our butter nice and chilled because this is going to make our biscuits nice and flaky. If you put warm butter in there, they're not going to be as flaky. So into a large bowl, we're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Then we are going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and then we are just going to give that a nice little stir, just to make sure everything's mixed together. Okay, now we are going to add our little pieces of the butter. Now this is where we have to get a little messy. We're going to use our hands and we're just going to get in there and mix the butter with the flour mixture. Just kind of smush it together like this. You want each little piece of butter to be coated in the flour. When it's all mixed together, it should resemble little pieces about the size of a pea. Okay, now that we're finished with that step, it's time to add 3/4 cup of buttermilk. And now we're just going to give this a quick little stir until everything is combined. And you might need to get your hands in there and just kind of finish combining the rest of it. Okay, that looks good. It formed a ball. And now let's get ready to roll the biscuits. Place a little bit of extra flour on your cutting board. That way, when we're cutting the biscuits, they're not going to stick. And just put out your dough. And now kind of form it like this. And we're not even going to use a rolling pin. We're just going to pat it out like this. And we want it to be about a 1/2 inch thick. Then take your biscuit cutter and make a biscuit. This recipe is going to make about 6 biscuits. So when you get to the end there, just re-pat it out. And there you go.
Okay.
Now we are going to put our cut biscuits onto a greased baking sheet. And now we're going to bake these at 425 degrees for about 10 minutes or until they are nice and golden brown on top. Okay, so let's get started making our gravy. Today, I'm going to use a 1-pound package of Jimmy Dean pork sausage. And what you want to do is you want to put it in little pieces, because if you put the whole thing in at the same time, it's kind of hard to break up. It's not as easy as, say, like hamburger. So just plop it out in little small pieces, kind of evenly over the pan. We're just going to give this a little stir. And all we want to do is brown our sausage and get it nice and cooked through. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it seems whenever we go out to a restaurant and order this dish, it's always disappointing. The biscuits are like hockey pucks. The gravy has very little sausage in it. I mean, come on, where's the meat?
Where's the meat?
I honestly think 75% of restaurants just open a packet of powder and add water, then throw in a few pieces of gravy sausage and call it a day. Well, you're never going to be disappointed with this recipe when you make it at home, because each bite is going to be full of sausage. Now, as you can see from this pan, there's not that much fat that has rendered from the sausage. That's because in the last 10 years, farmers have been producing pigs that are a lot leaner. So you're not going to get as much fat coming off of the sausage. So after this is finished cooking, we're going to have to add a little bit of oil to the pan so that we have enough to make the gravy. So this sausage is cooked and browned. And now I'm going to add an extra tablespoon of olive oil in there so that we have a little bit more for when we add our flour. So now I'm going to sprinkle in 3 tablespoons of flour. And this is going to thicken our gravy. And now we're just going to stir this. Until we don't see any more flour. We want to actually cook the flour a little bit, because if we don't cook it, the gravy is going to taste pasty. Our next step is we're going to add 2 cups of whole milk. And now we're just going to stir this until it starts thickening up. Okay, so after about 5 minutes of stirring, we have a nice thick gravy. So it should look like this. You want it to be thick but not too thick. We're going to add a little bit of salt. And now I'm going to do a little taste test to make sure that I have enough salt in there. A tiny bit more. That should be good. Okay, and there you have it. Couldn't be simpler. Takes about literally 5 to 10 minutes to make this gravy. And look how much better it looks than the kind you would get in a restaurant. So our biscuits have been baking at 425 they cooked for 9 minutes. So it's going to be between 8 and 10 minutes. And you want them to be a nice light golden brown just like this. Okay, now let's plate one up and try it. So I'm just going to cut this biscuit in half. And we are going to spoon on our gravy. Look at all that sausage in there. You're never going to find this at a restaurant. And feel free to put as much gravy on there as you like. And afterwards, I just like to add a sprinkle of parsley, but you don't have to. You can skip that part. And there you have it, homemade biscuits and gravy. I hope you guys are going to give this a try. I'm sure you're going to love it if you're a biscuits and gravy fan. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you on another episode.